for many, many years. And you have the Minister of Finance on the one hand lamenting that Petrotrin owes the government taxes and royalties, but on the other hand instructs the board to reduce the numbers of employees at Petrotrin that would allow for the increase in production and so on. What a queer formula or equation. I guess coming from the Minister of Finance, you would expect the unexpected. But let's just examine some of the facts here this morning. Dr. Rowley had appointed a new board of directors for Petrotrin from September 2017. That's September last year. With a person whom we objected to as the chairman of that board, one Wilfred Espionnet. And that we had said then that Wilfred Espionnet does not have any experience in the oil business. He does not even know where the fields are, how a refinery operates, what happens in the whole international scenario with respect to the oil business, both its exploration and production and the marketing and so on and refining. He does not have any experience. But his is a good friendship with one Stuart Young. And Stuart Young has the air of the Prime Minister. And so we are running this place as the politicians before had run it, and we are running it as we always run it, where the politics and the politicians, they put their friends, regardless of if those friends have knowledge of the entity for which they have the responsibility, regardless of if they have no experience, they are placed at leadership. So we end up with Espionnet because Rowley says so, because he's Stuart Young's friend and he's Rowley's friend. And here's what we have this morning as a result of that. When this board took over in September, let's examine what we had in Trinma. We had in Trinma a quick win project which yielded some 2,500 additional barrels of crude. That gone. They have cancelled that. Without any support for it, they would have cancelled that. We lost that. And we lost all the opportunities in the quick win project. They have shut down drilling. And their plan is now, as we speak, to close down all of the workover activities. Never before have you heard in the oil business that you don't have workover and you don't have drilling. The oil production business is one as such that oil has a natural rate of decline. And if you do not do proper maintenance, proper predictive and proactive ongoing maintenance, that rate of decline will rapidly increase. In addition to that, it is every oil company where you have serious and competent management, it is their knowledge that you need to do workovers, to work over all of your wells to ensure that they are operating at optimum and producing at optimum. And also to ensure that you engage in drilling activities to bring on new oil to buffer the fall and to mitigate the fall, the natural decline in production, so that you will always be ahead in terms of your production. Not so with SPNA and the board. They do not understand that. So theirs is the belief that if they shut down workover and they shut down drilling, they will save some money and the company will benefit from that. Worse than that, they have refused to replace critical manpower in critical areas of the operation, where you have real people required to do real work to get the oil out from beneath the sea and on land, from beneath the earth to the tank farms and to the refinery. So that what? So that we will produce more of our oil, because they are complaining about the country's oil production fell. We will produce more of our oil and import less oil and pass more of our oil through the refinery and make a bigger profit. Not so with Rowley's SPNL. Their inaction has resulted in Trinma's production when they took over in 2017 September. Mark the figures. The production was 20,660 barrels per day. Today the production is some 18,000, that's today, real-time production, check it, 18,464 barrels. A fall in production, and it is as a direct result of their lack of proper approach, lack of experience approach to treating with what is a critical asset, a crown jewel of the nation. Because listen to this, oil prices, despite the gurus, the false gurus and the alarmists and so on, and those who would have pointed to the opposite, today the world is enjoying appreciated oil prices. And the forecast is not what it was last year. That is the nature of the oil business. So then what do? As an oil company, you prepare yourself to take care of the low oil prices by increased volumes. And when you have the good fortunes of increased oil prices, the increased volumes will bring you many more returns in terms of increased revenue. But not so. So oil price is going up, but Petrotrin production is going down. Petrotrin's performance is going down because you don't have a board that is competent enough to cash in on this big board. And you have the Minister of Energy, one smiling assassin. One smiling assassin, and I say assassin in quotes, to make the point. His lack of performance assassinates the company's ability to produce. That is what I'm talking about, metaphorically. It assassinates and it cripples the company's capacity to produce. Because he posts how Riley came from BP, Robert Riley, remember that? And he has experience when questioned by members in the parliament, how members of the opposition, that Riley has all of this experience. Robert Riley is a lawyer. He's not a geophysicist. He's not a geologist. He is not an engineer. He's not a production engineer. He has absolutely no knowledge. He was a mere coordinator taking instructions from the colonial masters of BP outside. And they always want a local lackey to hold a particular position. And that was Robert Riley taking instructions from externally, foreign, when at BP. So he can be credited as bringing no experience to Petrotrin. But worse yet, we have not seen Robert Riley in about 2 months. He conducts his meetings by Skype out of London. So what they did to him, what the colonial masters BP did to him, he is doing to Petrotrin. But Petrotrin is a different kettle of fish. You cannot run an integrated oil company, an integrated operation, a sophisticated operation, where you have all kinds of different well qualities, and the nature of this well is different to that one, even though they are in close proximity and require different types of attention, ongoing attention. You cannot run an operation from externally by Skype and email. That is what Robert Riley is providing for Trinidad and Tobago. And we as a consultant, and we are saying that that is not good enough. That has resulted in the company's inability to make quick decisions in quick time, and it has contributed to Trinma's fall in production. You can't find Riley nowhere. That is what Dr. Rowley has imposed upon the petroleum company of Trinidad and Tobago. So, the local management want to take a decision, or have taken a decision, and want to get a sign-off on that. You can't find Robert Riley. Robbery in the field, 2 or 3 nights ago in Southwest Soldado, a situation that has been occurring for quite a while, where you had Venezuelan Guardian National coming in, shooting up our field in our hydrocarbon areas and so on, abducting fishermen in our waters. You had, 2 nights ago, you had a robbery, a break-in into one of the facilities, important equipment and so on, being stolen. Lack of security in the fields, lives being threatened. That has happened on land and on sea also. And where the company has a responsibility to provide for the safety of its equipment and for its people, it's not happening. But you can't find Riley at all. He's somewhere in London, nowhere to be found. And so we are saying he is operated as an absentee landlord. Yeah? Absentee landlord. That is how they operate. But all those things, if it's joke and fun, it would have been okay, but it is resulting in the risk of further damaging the operations, and also the threat of losing lives and limbs. And evidently, the figures speak for themselves, a direct fall in crude oil production. And what is bad about all of that, it is at a time when the country needs revenue, at a time when we should have our production going in the opposite direction. Riley and they, through their lack of leadership and so on, and their absenteeism, they are operating from external. That is what we are experiencing in Trinma. And he's responsible for exploration and production, both land and Trinma. So, land, north and east, all of Petrotrin's land assets in terms of exploration and production, and of course the Trinma marine asset. But this man, we can't find him. Up to this morning, he's nowhere to be found. And he speaks, members of the media, he speaks to the management on such a critically important operation 3 times a week. 3 times a week, and the rest of time is for himself. But his consultancy firm has been retained. How much they paying Riley? Let's ask the question. What figure? What is the sum of money that comes from the people's sweat and blood in Trinidad and Tobago being paid to Robert Riley for him to operate an operation as critical as that by Skype out of London? It has never happened, it has never benefited the operation, and will never benefit the operation. But what is this firm collecting? Of the 63 million that SPNS seeks to defend. Now, they're talking about expenses, not replacing critical manpower to increase the production, but spends over $63 million in consultancy and nothing to show for that. It did not, cannot, will not, and shall not affect the production positively. If anything at all, it is on the opposite. It will adversely impact the production. And so, you can't find SPNF. We don't know where he is, whether he's in the country or out of the country. He conducts his stewardship with the company and comments through the media. So he's on the TV, and he's in the newspaper, and he's in all of the various expose of the various newspapers and so on, the editorials and so on, and he's commenting. And that's how he runs Petrotrin, attempting to run it as he ran TCL. And where's TCL today? But let me just say, that if this was SPNA owned company and Riley owned company, they would not have been displaying such reckless disregard for the people's assets. If it was their own, they would not be running it like that. So it is another band of who are in charge of the nation's asset. And then the quickest thing you would find is Dr. Rowley and his band of jokers aiming to blame the workers. Yes. Well, we are telling you, the public, don't blame the workers. Blame Dr. Rowley for his incompetence and his laziness in the first instance, and for his appointing his friends who knows nothing about oil business for the fall in oil production at a time when we need more crude oil production in this country. Yes. Blame Dr. Rowley. That is what is occurring. And we would provide those figures for you. Those figures can stand the scrutiny, regardless of what anyone said. The crude oil production in Trinma has fallen from some 20,660 barrels when they took over. To date, we are now experiencing, after this morning's report, 18,464 barrels of crude. It's a loss. Production in land has also fallen. And we are destined to fall, for more fall in production because they are going to remove the workover rigs. So I think we need to pay close attention to that. And you know what? They cannot blame the workers because you would have had no industrial action for any reason over that period of time. So it is a clear case of their incompetence. And let us look at what is happening at the refinery. A similar story at the refinery. Today, the refinery throughput is 118,000 barrels. That's the throughput at the refinery. When the target, the minimum target is 140,000. And the real target aimed at there is 160,000. So you neither have your real target, nor the minimum target. You're below that. And that's a fella called Chantak. A fella called Chantak who failed. He was a former manager in the refinery. He has been brought back, I guess, to complete what he didn't complete when he left, which is to finally kill the refinery. And he operates like a raging bull, like you know who, in the refinery. Refusal to meet, refusal to fill vacancies and so on. Refusal to fill critical vacancies in the operation of the refinery, where that impacts adversely the health of the workers who have to continue to work because they have no replacement, and also the company's ability to increase the refinery's throughput. So Chantak has failed. But the only people that know that he has failed is all of the workers. And the result is clear. He doesn't know that. So they continue to cut back and cut back and cut back in critical areas because it takes people to run a refinery. It takes people to do work offshore and on land. And no amount of scaling down would benefit the refinery. The evidence is there to show that that production would have fallen, the refinery throughput would have fallen to a precipitously low 118,000 barrels today, that throughput. That is what it is today. And if you think that it will stop there, let these people continue to have their way, to masquerade in the public as they know it all, but to cripple the company, the production will continue to fall. And you know what? They're going to blame the workers. They're going to blame the workers, and they'll talk about high wage bill. But your wage bill is a percentage, as a percentage of your revenue, will be made even smaller if you have more revenue. And there is the capacity, but that capacity is being curtailed simply because of the incompetence and unwillingness. We have had some 8 fires in the refinery over the last couple months. Check it, the record is there. Despite SPNA, despite Chantak and so on. 8 fires. But what is worse is that the refinery's ability to respond properly is also curtailed. So important equipment and manpower has been reduced, and therefore we can very well have a situation where the little throughput that we have, all of that can go up in smoke because of the incompetence and the direct assassination of the refinery's ability to produce by those who don't know better, don't care, or they are just on a one track. Reducing critical manpower in Petrotrin's operation is not the answer for Petrotrin's success. Not the answer. Robert Riley, Chantak and SPNA, Nigel Edwards, Ajoda saying they are not good for Petrotrin. We said that to you, Dr. Rowley. Today we are vindicated, unfortunately, by virtue of the fact that production has fallen, operation is worse, and is destined to get even worse. We want Robert Riley, Wilfred SPNA, Nigel Edwards, Chantak, all of them to get the hell out of Petrotrin. And bring in people, and let us usher in people who will provide the patriotic and committed leadership to the success of Petrotrin. We are not going to allow them to prepare this valuable asset, the people's asset, for a fire sale where their friends will benefit. That is what they are about. There is a plan, the agenda, to run it down to rubbles and then sell it out, say it cannot work, blame the workers, blame the union, say it cannot work, and then their friends will come in and enjoy the spoils. We are totally against that. We are warning the people. You will have less to benefit when those 1%ers, when their friends take over. Now, we had an agreement with the board. We said, listen, we want what is best for Petrotrin. We, through our years of experience, institutional knowledge, we understand how this company operates. We would have been here when the multinationals operated it, and we knew what is to be done and what is not to be done to make Petrotrin a success. And the first thing that we need to get rid of is the political interference. We went before the Lashley Committee. They agreed that the union plan and arguments is solid and that the company should be broken up into different manageable areas and segments so that you can get the best out of each area. They agreed, the Lashley Committee. Then we had the coming in of this board in September. We met with the board repeatedly. We presented our comprehensive plan. Now, no one else has a plan. The board does not have a plan, except a plan to mash it up. The union has a plan that stood the scrutiny of the Lashley Committee. The board could not argue against the plan. They said it was solid. They agreed. They agreed by letter dated March 5th this year. Same SPNA signing. Couldn't fault the union's plan. And then subsequently, we went into further discussions and we signed on to a memorandum of agreement detailing that this company will be divided into 4 sections. We will work assiduously, immediately, to operationalize this MOA. This MOA is dated April the 3rd. Could you believe Trinidad and Tobago, in a time when oil price is appreciating, going up, and the forecast is that it would stay at a particular level for a while, and so that if we do the right things at the right time, now the country will benefit. Could you believe that where the answer is to divide this company up into 4 operational areas, where we would have agreed by virtue of a memorandum of agreement that from April 3rd to now we have not had not one meeting to begin this process, despite the fact that the union would have submitted the names of all of our personnel to be part of that working committee to look at how we are going to structure these 4 entities to ensure that each entity produces at its maximum so that the company will benefit, because when Petrotrin benefits, the country will benefit. To date, we have not had not one meeting thus far, despite our request to meet, despite our readiness, the union, to meet and treat and to put in place a particular structure that would benefit the country. SPNA is up and down all over the place. Riley is in London, and they will take the hindmost with Petrotrin. That is how this company is being run. Not only that there is no change in the approach and the attitude from the last government, that it is worse under this government now, if you want to make the point. Because at least you are still seeing those who are stealing. You need to watch them every day, but they were there, stealing. They are those who are extracting from afar in different ways now, by preparing the whole asset for giveaway to their friends. The Oilfields Workers Trade Union, throughout our 81 years of existence, the one common thread is that we stood up not only for our members, but for those who are without a voice, those who have a voice and cannot use it, and for the poor and the helpless in the community and in the society. And if Petrotrin is allowed to go down the hill in the direction that SPNA and Riley and Chantak and they are taking Petrotrin, the country will lose, people will lose. We are not going to allow that to happen. And I don't know what formula they are using with the contractors, what formula the contractors are using, because they are notably silent. All SPNA answer to this is to ask the contractors to take a 20% cut. And when the question is asked, how will we perform the work as contractors? How will we pay properly and attract the proper and quality of skills to do the work? SPNA says to them, that is your business. However that happened, it happened. I said, oil company, you're talking about, man. It's not SPNA company. It's our company, Trinidad and Tobago, the people's company. And that is why we have absolutely no choice but to, ahead of the action that we are going to take, to warn the public, advise the public as to what is happening. Because like it or not, we are going to take action. We cannot stand idly by and allow these atrocities to continue. So, let's ask the question again as we close. Does Riley have a consultancy firm? Robert Riley, is he attached to a consultancy firm of his own or some consultancy firm that he operates with? Because he's paid as a consultant. And how much that firm is being paid? What is Riley's take? Who pays his bill when he travels to and from London? Wherever he is in London, who pays that bill? Who pays SPNF's travel bill and arrangements? And Mackenzie, that consultancy agency that would have received, what, some 26 or $23 million. Big chunk out of the 63 million, which SPNA defends. It's coming out of a Petrotrin that they claim to be in so much debt. So even though they on the one hand, one side of their mouth, they say Petrotrin is so much debt, but they chalk up even more debt with their friends. But worse, with their friends who cannot and will not have any idea how to turn this company around. Mackenzie, that $26 million they paid Mackenzie did not benefit and will not benefit Petrotrin. That is just free money to Mackenzie. We want to say to the public here this morning. And this is another way, consultancy to bleed the company. So under SPNA, the company is losing because they have to pay, and it's losing because it is crippled to produce more. And that is the state of Petrotrin today. And you want the OWTU to remain silent? That's not happening. Not happening. It's not going to happen. We are in the fire. We are feeling the heat first of all. And of course that heat will not only stay with the workers of Petrotrin, the public will feel the heat. The hospitals will feel the heat. The schools will feel the heat. National security will feel the heat. The roads will feel the heat. But the politicians and their friends will feel the buffer, the lining of their pockets and their bank accounts and so on. So they are raiding Petrotrin even though Petrotrin is sick and ailing. When you believe that they come to assist Petrotrin back to his feet, they come to finish, suck the blood of Petrotrin, and like vultures, kill the entity where everybody else would lose. No. We are not going to allow that. We want to bring to an end immediately management by Skype. We want to stop this nonsense of giving direction from London. I wonder if Dr. Rowley and this incompetent Minister of Finance knows, and the Minister of Energy, Smiley Khan, one Minister of Lease and Farm Out. I wonder if he knows that the consultancy Robert Riley that he boasts up so much is not in the country, is not in the company, and is not and is giving management by Skype to Trinma 3 times a week. I wonder if he knows that. Perhaps he does. And that is how this country is being operated. Indeed, we have a Prime Minister who is absent all of the time, so perhaps that is okay for them. But for Petrotrin and for the oil production, that is not okay for the oilfield workers. So, I think that this morning we wanted to put in the public's mind an update as to what is happening with Petrotrin. They have had all of the opportunities, but they have failed so far to turn around the production or give any indication that the production has any semblance under their stewardship to turn around. And all of the answers that they give, the flippant and nonsensical answers that they give when questioned in Parliament and elsewhere, does not suffice. It does not and will not benefit Petrotrin. Their plan is to send home some 2,000 workers, and that is their answer for Petrotrin. In an oil company that is starved of resources, starved of manpower in critical areas, they want to further exacerbate that by sending home some 2,000 workers. It is the greatest political suicide that Dr. Rowley will commit if he votes on that. We stand ready to be on the side of efficiency. We have always been there. We stand ready to be on the side of productivity. We have always been there. We stand ready to be on the side of reshaping, remolding, reorganizing this company for it to benefit its revenue stream and for it to benefit the country, where it can pay again for yet another time its royalties and taxes and so on. We are on that side, but they are not on that side. But we stand ready. And if that does not occur, well, we certainly are going to be treated with that in traditional and other ways. So, you have more than a mouthful this morning, members of the media, and we ask you to take the documents that we will supply you with and also reconcile that with your own investigations as to what is happening. Try to find Robert Riley this morning without making a foreign call. Yeah? Or try to find SPNA, or try to find Chantak and ask him why are all of those plants down? Why it is the ultra-low sulfur diesel, for which they talk so much about. What is the forecast for that? What is the projection? Where they have reached so far since they last spoke about that publicly and now? And as they continue to be crying, the company cry down, the company in the public domain, it is utter foolish to hear a Prime Minister cry down Petrotrin, Minister of Energy cry down Petrotrin, the Chairman cry down Petrotrin, but say in the public domain, and then goes to say that they want to get international financing for the same asset that they are crying down. It is so foolish and myopic on the part of all of those mentioned. But Petrotrin has the potential to be able to rescue a major revenue stream in Trinidad and Tobago, but Petrotrin needs to have the appropriate and astute and competent and willing and patriotic management to take Petrotrin forward. Today, it does not have that at the level of the board. And so we call for the hastening or the beginning of the discussions for us to make good to this commitment of the MOA, so that we can have a general manager in charge of Trinma focusing on Trinma's business, that we can have a general manager of Land North and East focusing on Land North and East, that we can have a general manager in charge of refining and marketing focusing on refining and marketing, and that we can have for the hospital a board, a medical board of directors dealing with all of those issues and reshaping the hospital to be able to deliver for its internal and external patients and customers. And let me tell you, members of the media, how far off the Prime Minister is from all of this. The Prime Minister says to the media that they are searching for a president for the company. Could you imagine that? The structure that we have come to does not have a president. They would have gotten rid of the president, the last president he left. And that's the president of the company. Yes, that one Fitra here would. And that this new structure does not accommodate a president. So there is some big disconnect in the Prime Minister's mind and the Lashley Committee, of which Lashley is a member of the board also, and a disconnect between the Prime Minister's mind and the chairman of the board of Petrotrin. So the Prime Minister is still in the archaic era of looking for a president, someone of his partner, for failing Petrotrin. When all of the presidents would have failed Petrotrin, that model is a failed model. And that the model that we have in place that we agree to does not have a president. The Prime Minister talk about a president. He's fishing for a president. It's another matter. We'll be dealing with all of these matters on Labor Day, including their intention to get rid of some 2,000 workers, which would further exacerbate the problems in Petrotrin. You're not going to stand for that, Dr. Rao. Jump and scream and whine and spread out. We're not going to stand for that. So, again, in closing, we want to thank you for coming to cover this important statement. This is a very important statement. We chose not to shut down this morning to make the statement. We had that option to exercise, to shut the company down, to get the public's attention to make the statement. We chose on this occasion not to do that because we don't want to give them at this time an opportunity to say we are the reason for the fall in production. So very tactically, we decided we're not going to do that. But we are not going to rule out, when the time comes, using that particular ammunition in our defense. Petrotrin is the lone company in this country that produces fuel for the local market and the regional market and the extra-regional market. And when Petrotrin's refinery and its crude oil production and its operation is impacted, the country will lose both in terms of revenue and in terms of availability of fuel. We do not have foreign exchange to purchase fuel from external. So it makes good sense to ensure that your one refinery that you have, that it works properly. But that is not happening. But the people benefit from the labor, the sweat, and the risk that all of those workers take. And we are going to do every single thing in our power to ensure that those workers are protected and that we have enough workers to produce and to increase the levels of productivity that is required to continue or to make a safe operation where the country will benefit. Thank you very much for your attendance. Any questions?
The fall in production is directly related to the removal of the wins that you had in Trinidad.
The shutting down of that quick win project.
What exactly was that project?
That project was looking, having a specific team focusing on all of those wells that would have been closed off for whatever reasons. All of those locations that would have, we would not have been able through the integrity issues, integrity of the locations issues, asset integrity issues, to access those areas. But those areas had a vast potential, and therefore it was looking at that, it was looking at debottlenecking and so on, reducing pressures in certain areas, critical operational things that we can do that would not cost the company any money, but putting a sharp focus on those areas so that when you reduce high pressure in this area, the lower pressure would be able to flow, and therefore you have more oil flowing to the tank farms and so on. That project requires workers to do it. And therefore, the issue of making sure that all of those vacancies, those vacant areas, staffed with casual or temporary workers until we can permanently fill them, all of those things have been stymied and shut down and so on. So that, in their view, in their foolish view, would have cost the company, when in fact some extra 2,500 barrels of crude would have added to Trinidad's production. We lost that as a result of that. Not only did the company lose that, they lose an extra, you do the math, from 20,660 in September. So that's not the quick wins. The quick wins was in addition to that. Yeah? In addition to your 20,000, you had 2,005 extra barrels of crude per day coming out of the quick wins. So they shut that down. And then from their lack of attention and or performance, or diligence, or stewardship, leadership, call it what you may, improper management and so on. Management by Skype, we now move from 20,000 to today's production of 18,464. Do the math and see how much we lose there.
So that they not hire the casual workers anymore?
That's right. They're not hiring the casual workers, those casual and temporary workers. There are a significant number of vacancies in the company, and that's throughout the company. Yeah? And because the instruction is to not hire those workers are filling vacant positions. So you have some 800 plus employees departing the company for either death, retirement, and so on, migration, whatever reason, over a consistent period of time. But those vacancies in those critical areas are not being addressed because you have no one working there. And therefore, the capacity, the volume of work that would have been performed has been lessened because you have less people doing the necessary work. But even worse than that, when you have less people outside there or in this environment, you put at risk those who are at work, because a crew is complemented for safety reasons and for productivity reasons also. The approval. They have been systematically shutting down that and not giving approval for these since September, since they came in. And they have gotten increasingly aggressive with that approach in recent times. So no longer in Point-a-Pierre, you are getting temporary workers to work. Temporary workers are not working. And those workers are workers with experience in the shop, in welding, machine shop, in plant fitters and so on, that is necessary for the refinery operation. Well, the operators is a different thing because you cannot pick up an operator from off the street. But they are not engaging in any type of aggressive training and bringing on more operators to fill the necessary operators' vacancies. And those are the people that refine the crude, all of the processes involved to ensure that we get products for sale. So Trinidad and Tobago understand the people to do the work. If you don't have people to do the work, the company will shut down. These people are systematically shutting the company down. That is wrong. It's not a company that can operate. You could send home half of the workers, half of the workforce, and then you have the company still producing. That is not the nature of the oil business. And any oil man who worth his salt will tell you that on the offshore platforms you need what has been identified as your minimum crew requirement. You don't go below that. In the refinery you need that. In the shops you need it. Yeah.
Any estimates as to how many temporary casual workers we hired since September to now?
Well, the temporary pool of casual workers, they are on a rotation basis. So if that is impacting them, it will impact what? Almost, in the refinery is how much? 4,000 across the board employees. Because it is a pool of workers that rotates in and out on a rotation basis. All of them are not engaged at the same time, but they are engaged periodically and they are scheduled. But the point we wish to make is that those workers are experienced and competent, and the company lacks that when those workers are removed. The operation suffers as a result of that. And we are simply saying that those vacancies ought to be filled, ought to be filled. Some 800 plus vacancies ought to be filled. But in the meantime, for heaven's sake, let the temporary workers come and do the work to make sure that the operation is safe. the idea is to cut and cut and cut. Not unlike the Minister of Finance. So just cut back and cut back and cut back. So he stays in the Ministry of Finance, instructs and laments the fact that Petrotrin owes all of this royalties and taxes, but also instruct that Petrotrin don't hire temporary employees. That's the Minister of Finance and SPNA and there. So you want to eat your cake and still have it. Well, we want Trinidad and Tobago to have the pie, to ensure that the country benefits from the pie that is Petrotrin. That is why we are raising these issues in the public domain.
The concern of 2,000 workers is sent home. First, tell me where that is coming from. If your house is in your
there's a report. There's a report that the company, the board is attempting to put in place. And here's how it went. A report called the Solomon and Associate report. And in that report, and we will also facilitate you with some copies of that report, the particular recommendation is to cut Petrotrin's manpower by some 2,000.
Is it specific?
Mackenzie.
Certain permanent contract onshore, offshore, is it
No,
specific?
we'll come to that. Mackenzie has been hired to implement that report and to duplicate whatever that report has been said, has been said, and be given some $26 million just for that. And that report details where those employees are going to come from. And I can tell you, it will come from areas of the operation that will adversely affect the company's ability to increase or even maintain the current production levels. Because if you cut back on, you didn't fill vacancies for the operations, or you cut back on maintenance and fitters and plant fitters and so on, and you cut back on offshore operation workers, and you cut back on workers in the fields, well, you tell me how you're going to get the oil from beneath the sea, or from beneath the earth, to go to the various tank farms, to come to the refinery. It just defies logic. That at a time when you need more oil to increase your revenue, that these people are allowed to decimate the company's operation and so on. These cuts wouldn't work. And their first attempt at these cuts is to not put casual temporary replacement. So have the operation run without these replacements, while the competence remain outside the gate, and while the company continues to suffer as a result of that. Now the figures speak for themselves. And then we can tell you that in the Trinma case, where you have over that 2,000 plus barrels drop in production from 20,660 in September to the 18,000 plus today, it is as a direct result of not being able to attend to wells on time, not being able to attend to compression facility on time, not being able to attend in the fields to the wells and workovers and so on, and the checking of wells, and the servicing of wells and so on, in the shop in Santa Flora, not being able to repair equipment on time, and of course a similar situation exists in the Point-à-Pierre refinery. So it's a direct correlation. You see it in the daily reports. Not enough manpower, so that they could not have complete the particular task of the previous day. It is as glaring as that. But those who are responsible for the company, entrusted with the people's asset, they do not understand that. You cannot have an oil company where you don't have workovers. They are about to remove the workover rate. You cannot have an oil company where you don't have drilling. And you know, drilling has been stopped by the Ministry of Energy. Excuse me, the Ministry of Energy Support and Knowledge. The Minister of Energy Support and Knowledge. No decision or approval has been given for Trinma to complete their obligation to exploit, to go and drill in Trinma North Marine and so on. And in areas where the seismic survey has proven that there is reserve. The ministry And this minister is denying the company the approval to go into those areas. But later on this year, he'll come and make an announcement that somebody else would have been given the lease to go ahead and to exploit those areas. That is what we see happening.
Are you waiting for something specific to take action? I think I said that will come, and you all have not done it before. Are you all waiting a certain time frame or waiting for some kind of response, for conversations to start? What exactly are you all waiting on?
The media and their scribes, those editors, the uninformed and ill-informed public, and the politicians. When we take action, which we will take, they blame the union. The union bad. We thought it necessary to, ahead of that action, to advise the public why the production is where it is, what is responsible, who is responsible, and the madness that is occurring on a daily basis, supported by this government. We will take action. We have always taken action, rest assured. We will take action. And when we take action, it will be felt by Trinidad and Tobago and else, I can guarantee you that. I did make the point that you cannot get an operator. I did make the point. Just 1 second. I did make the point that you cannot get an operator from off the streets. You cannot bring him with no crash course. No police, no soldier, no minister, no board member can perform the task of an operator at the refinery. And put that in your pipe. Sometimes you have to take a particular course of action for people to understand the contribution and the risk people place themselves at every day to provide food for the rest of us in Trinidad and Tobago. And we are not opposed when the time comes, when we decide the time is right to take in that action. On Labor Day, we'll be dealing with these and a number of other issues. And there will be a specific announcement coming quite apart from the other things and initiatives that we are going to put in place to save the petroleum company of Trinidad and Tobago. Once again, thank you very much for your Good. So you have all of this. Yeah? This one has signature. Yes, yeah. The concrete man, the cement man. Yeah? All of this. Okay? But today, nothing has happened. Nothing. Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much.
Court.